Welcome to our video about the fascinating world of Pokemon and their placement on the Tree of Life. Today, we take a closer look at Golduck and its relationship with Pidgeot and Fiero, as all three are part of the Aves clade. Ready? Let's go! Neoaves is a clade that consists of all modern birds, Neornives or Aves, with the exception of Paleognathi, ratites and kin, and Galloansary, ducks, chickens, and kin. This group is defined in the Phylocode by George Sangster and colleagues in 2022 as the most inclusive crown clade containing Passer domesticus, but not Gallus gallus. Almost 95% of the roughly 10,000 known species of extant birds belong to the Neoaves. The early diversification of the various Neoavian groups occurred very rapidly around the Cretaceous, Paleogene extinction event, and attempts to resolve their relationships with each other have resulted initially in much controversy. The early diversification of the various Neoavian groups occurred very rapidly around the Cretaceous, Paleogene extinction event. As a result of the rapid radiation, attempts to resolve their relationships have produced conflicting results, some quite controversial, especially in the earlier studies. Nevertheless, some recent large phylogenomic studies of Neoaves have led to much progress on defining orders and superordinal groups within Neoaves. Still, the studies have failed to produce a consensus on an overall high-order topology of these groups. A genomic study of 48 taxa by Jarvis and colleagues in 2014 divided Neoaves into two main clades, Columbia and Passeria, but an analysis of 198 taxa by Prum and colleagues in 2015 recovered different groupings for the earliest split in Neoaves. A reanalysis with an extended dataset by Reddy and colleagues in 2017 suggested this was due to the type of sequence data, with coding sequences favoring the Prum topology. The disagreement on topology, even with large phylogenomic studies, led Alexander Su in 2016 to propose a hard polytomy of 9 clades as the base of Neoaves. An analysis by Hout and colleagues in 2019 recovered Columbia and a reduced hard polytomy of 6 clades within Passeria. Despite other disagreements, these studies do agree on a number of superordinal groups, which Reddy and colleagues in 2017 dubbed the Magnificent Seven, which together with 3 orphaned orders make up Neoaves significantly. They both include a large waterbird clade, Equornithes, and a large landbird clade, Telluraves. Waterfowl and Seriforms form an order of birds, Aves. The group includes, among others, birds commonly referred to as geese, ducks, and swans, but also, for example, the screamers of South America. Waterfowl are among the most important bird groups in the wetlands of the Earth. Generally, waterfowl have a plump, solid body with a comparatively small head, often on a long neck. The beak is, except for screamers, broad and flattened. At its tip, there is often a hardening that helps in plucking plant material, while the edges feature small, horny teeth, the lamellae, which help filter edible particles from the water. Another characteristic feature is the webbing between the 3 forward-facing toes, which is, however, significantly reduced in screamers and the magpie goose, Anserornis semipalmata. As the name suggests, they are used for rapid movement in water. The plumage is waterproof and, in many species, especially males, very colorful. It is constantly maintained with a water-repellent oil secreted by a gland located on the rump and stimulated by the beak, then spread over the whole body through preening. During molting, most species lose all feathers simultaneously. Males often exhibit very inconspicuous plumage during this period, providing them with camouflage from predators in their flightless state. Thermal insulation is ensured by a thick layer of down feathers and a layer of fat under the skin. Most waterfowl are excellent flyers. The bar-headed goose, Anser indicus, is even the highest flying bird of all. Numerous species undertake extensive migrations as migratory birds between their breeding grounds and wintering areas, which can be many thousands of kilometers long. Many prehistoric and some historically extinct species, especially island endemics like the moanalos in Hawaii, have secondarily lost their ability to fly. Waterfowl mostly live near water, in swamps and marshes, river estuaries, or coastal waters. Some species spend most of their lives on the open sea, returning to land only to breed. Most seek their food on or near the water surface, while others dive for aquatic plants, and particularly geese, swans, and screamers also graze on grasses and herbs on land. Waterfowl regularly swallow small stones, which serve as gastroliths in the muscular stomach to grind up food. The oldest waterfowl, confirmed again, comes from the Maastrichtian and belongs to the genus Vagavus, with Vagavus iaai as the only known species. Another early representative of waterfowl, Presbyornis, comes from the Paleocene. According to Livesey's analyses, Presbyornis is more closely related to ducks than to screamers. The fossil bird was initially thought to be related to avocets or flamingos until Harrison and Walker placed it closer to waterfowl in 1976. Additional fossil waterfowl appear only in the Oligocene, but they seem to have been rare at that time. In the Miocene, there was an explosive radiation resulting in the formation of the types known today. The family of ducks, Anatidae, is the most species-rich within the order of waterfowl and seriforms. It includes 47 genera and 174 species. This group consists of well-known types of waterbirds such as ducks, geese, and swans. Perhaps aside from the galliforms, no other bird group has as numerous interactions with humans. 5 species have been domesticated. Ducks are hunted and kept for their meat, eggs, and feathers and have found their way into fairy tales, legends, and comics in many forms. Linguistically, the terms duck refer to the female bird, while drake or drakebird refers to the male bird. The most noticeable distinguishing feature is the more colorful breeding plumage of male ducks, the drakes. All ducks are more or less strongly adapted to an aquatic life. Their long, broad body provides buoyancy when swimming, their feet are webbed, except for the Hawaiian goose, and set far back on the body. This makes their gait on land appear somewhat awkward, but ducks are not nearly as clumsy when running as many seabirds. The neck is often conspicuously long, especially in geese and swans, but also in some ducks. The size, in terms of length, beak to tail tip, of ducks ranges from 30 centimeters, pygmy ducks, to 180 centimeters, trumpeter swans, and the weight ranges from 230 g to 14.3 kilograms, mute swan. The wingspan of a trumpeter swan can reach 240 centimeters. The plumage is very dense and regularly oiled with the secretion of the well-developed preen gland to make it water repellent. Many ducks are extraordinarily colorful. This is particularly true for the ducks of the subfamily Anatidae, which often have plumage in bright colors, while geese primarily have white, brown, and gray base colors. There is usually a pronounced sexual dimorphism, with males being brightly colored and females inconspicuously gray-brown. At the end of the breeding season, ducks undergo a molt, during which they temporarily become flightless, and the males often temporarily resemble females in coloration with the so-called eclipse plumage. Juvenile plumage usually resembles that of the female. A notable exception to the usual color scheme is the paradise shelduck, which is the only duck to exhibit reversed sexual dimorphism with more colorful females. Above the eyes, all ducks have salt glands that can excrete ingested salt. The high build profile of marine species like the eider ducks can be explained by facilitating better drainage of the excreted salt through the beak. Ducks have a relatively broad beak, with the edges lined with lamellae. A mallard beak has 36 to 54 lamellae on the upper side and 72 to 80 lamellae on the lower side. In ducks that feed on tiny organisms, the lamellae serve as a filter apparatus. Water is sucked in through the half-open beak and then pressed out through the lamellae. Often there are modifications of the original lamellar structure, as seen in mergansers, where the lamellae are transformed into small teeth that help hold on to fish prey. The beak of ducks is often brightly colored, especially in males in breeding plumage. It takes on vibrant colors. The upper beak has a horny tip and is densely packed with sensory cells. The wings of ducks are short and strong. Due to the relatively high weight of the birds and the small wing area, continuous wing flapping is required, and gliding phases are not possible. To take off, especially larger species need to run a few meters on the water surface. Once in the air, ducks can cover long distances, sometimes at altitudes up to 8,000 meters. An exception are 3 species of steamer ducks, which have become completely flightless. The tail is usually very short and square, sometimes slightly rounded. Only stiff-tailed ducks have relatively long tails. The primary function of the tail is to steer in flight. Ducks swim with alternating strokes of their feet. All ducks can dive, although they use this ability to varying degrees. Some do it only in emergencies, while others, like diving ducks, sea ducks, and stiff-tailed ducks, do it regularly to search for food. Examining the internal organs reveals an enlarged heart in diving ducks. The gizzard is enlarged in geese to grind fibrous plants. An even more significant enlargement is found in sea ducks that consume mollusk shells. Herbivorous ducks also have large ceca. Most ducks are very vocal. The quacking of dabbling ducks is well known. Only female ducks quack, while males produce different sounds, such as thin whistling calls. Geese are known for their loud honking, whistling ducks, and shellgeese are mostly known for their whistling sounds. The calls of swans can carry the farthest. The trumpeter swan has bladder-like resonance chambers, bully, at the syrinx and along the trachea, greatly amplifying the volume of its calls. Only stiff-tailed ducks are not very vocal and are nearly silent, aside from hissing and grunting sounds. Ducks are found on all continents except Antarctica. They inhabit all climate zones, from the high Arctic tundra to tropical rainforests, and can be found in all types of aquatic habitats. Most species, however, breed in freshwater and come to the sea only during migration and winter. This applies even to most so-called sea ducks. With the ruddy shelduck and the bar-headed goose, there are two species that can be found at altitudes of up to 5,000 meters in the mountains. While tropical and subtropical species are mostly sedentary, many ducks of temperate and especially polar and subpolar zones undertake extensive migrations. The migrations of Arctic geese, which cover several thousand kilometers to reach their wintering grounds, are particularly well known. Among ducks, there are both diurnal and nocturnal species. Most are not strictly bound to one and are primarily active during twilight. Ducks often sleep on the water with their heads tucked under a wing. They spend a large part of the day preening their feathers, which are regularly oiled with the secretion of the preen gland. Even non-diving species regularly wet their feathers by vigorously beating the water surface with their wings. While only a few species breed in colonies, ducks are often found in large gatherings outside the breeding season. These can include multiple species, for example, dabbling ducks and diving ducks often mix with other species of the same tribe. Only 3 species are strict loners: the torrent duck, the blue-winged goose, and the bronze-winged duck. Ducks have developed very diverse feeding types, making it challenging to say anything common about them. Geese and swans are primarily herbivores. For swans, the long neck is used to reach the water bottom and access aquatic plants. Adult geese typically forage on land for grasses, seeds, herbs, and mosses. Their young, however, often feed on insects and crustaceans. Shellgeese are mostly herbivores, some even exclusively. Dabbling ducks filter feed in shallow water using their bill lamellae. They search the bottom mud for aquatic insects, crustaceans, and plant parts. In the northern shoveler, the lamella apparatus is so refined that it has become a plankton filterer. Diving ducks and stiff-tailed ducks also dabble, but mostly dive to the bottom. There, they primarily eat aquatic plants, sometimes insects and crustaceans. Among sea ducks and mergansers, many representatives dive for small animals. Mergansers are specialized fish hunters, while eider ducks mainly eat mollusks. The daily food requirement of ducks is about 10% of their body weight. Herbivores also ingest sand and small stones to aid the gizzard in grinding up indigestible food, gastroliths. Some ducks also engage in kleptoparasitism. Gadwalls are occasionally seen attacking coots to steal their food. Similarly, widgeons attack diving ducks for the same purpose. However, ducks are mostly victims of kleptoparasitism, especially by gulls. Ducks living in close contact with humans, such as in a city park, often feed on what people give them. They are not particularly picky and will eat sausage or cheese. However, bread is especially harmful to the animals and their environment. For one, the animals consume large quantities of sweets with little nutritional value. Secondly, the surplus food leads to overpopulation in the area. Additionally, uneaten bread can quickly mold and smell, reducing the habitat's quality. Ducks have been known since the Oligocene, but fossils from this period are extremely rare. It was only in the Miocene that there was an explosive radiation. All major recent tribes have been documented since the Miocene. Some larger taxa have become entirely extinct today. The Presbyornithidae, Nemeornithidae, New Zealand geese, Romainvillidae, Cygnopteridae, and Paraneurosidae are not classified as waterfowl here, but as separate families parallel to them. The following fossil and subfossil taxa remain within the waterfowl. Dendrocheninae. The two genera Myanetta and Dendrochen are known from the Miocene of North America and Europe and resembled modern whistling ducks. Myanetta blanchardi probably nested on limestone cliffs in France, while Dendrochen robusta lived along the rivers of the subtropical savannas of South Dakota. Thambetocheninae, Moanalos, a tribe assigned to the Anatidae, with 4 species endemic to the Hawaiian Islands. The large, flightless birds were exterminated by the Polynesian inhabitants of Hawaii before the arrival of Europeans. Finch's duck, Shenanetta finchii, a flightless duck from New Zealand. That's it for now. In the next episode, we'll take a closer look at Arcanine and its relationship with ninetails. Feel free to subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and check in next time.